The meeting for Rules and Confirmations Committee is come to order. And at this time, I am going to start with the resolutions on the agenda, because that's what I have been asked to do. Okay, committee members, the first resolution is Resolution RS 2018-1310, Hastings, Gilmore, and others. This recognizes legendary singer-songwriter Anita Baker. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Wait a minute. Is Ms. Baker here?
Is Ms. Baker here? I wish. I wish.
Well, then I think that's the problem.
We would love that. We would be honored with her presence here. Okay, next resolution is Resolution RS 2018-1311, sponsors Kendall and myself. This is recognizing the courageous actions of Pamela Franklin, Brenda, our very own Brenda Harris Haywood, Beverly Page Ward, Bernadine Price, I just pronounced that, Rabathely, and the late Ronald Jefferson Webb. And there's a letter from Councilman Kendall asking that this be approved. And does everyone know what this occasion is for?
I do. I signed on.
I'm signed on too.
Okay.
Because it.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody from the gallery.
Who?
Small child in the back here.
Did you want to make a comment? The next resolution is RS 2018-1312, sponsor O'Connell, recognizes and celebrates Matthew Walker Comprehensive Health Center's 50th anniversary of service to Tennessee.
Yes, I signed on the resolution as well, so I would like to move for approval,
Second.
please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution RS 2018-1313 recognizes and honors, sponsors Berkeley Allen, O'Connell, and others, recognizes and honors Walk Bike Nashville, and declaring July 20th, 2018 as Walk Bike Nashville Day in honor of the organization's contributions to the health and well-being of the citizens of Nashville. Is the sponsor here?
I'm one of the
Okay.
others.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we have a late file amendment to resolution number RS 1314 by Glover. And we have that on the agenda here. Would you come forth, Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Okay, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you. So after we met last Wednesday, I think we had a lot more questions than we had answers to with regards to the deal with the MLS. Let me state, as I've stated from the very beginning, I'm not against soccer. I'm against the way the process is run, and I don't think we've been transparent. I don't believe that we've been honest and straightforward with folks. I'm not certain we can do what we seem to think we can do at the fairgrounds. Legal minds obviously would. I can get opinions on both sides. Anyway, that being said, what I basically said in the original of this was, let's slow down. Let's start getting all the answers. Let's figure out what's going on. How's the money going to work? How's the parking going to work? I mean, pretty basic questions. And then yesterday, Councilman Mendez had a suggestion to clean up some of the language, and I'll use your words and his as well, to where it's not quite as circular. And so, therefore, if you don't mind, Councilman, I'm going to let you talk about the amendment, because you helped write it and you're better at it than I am.
So, as revised, it says that, and then for background, when we passed the soccer resolution, what we said was $225 million of bonds were approved if about a dozen conditions were met. And of those dozen conditions, about 5 of them were things the council had to do in the future. So those conditions haven't been met yet. This says now, as amended, that Metro including its boards and commissions, won't incur any outside expenses in connection with a lease or redevelopment until the council has approved the things that we're supposed to approve from the soccer resolution. And there's already, I know there's, I've seen, I think we've seen in the media where stadium development costs are being incurred, and I've seen a MOU between the Sports Authority and the team saying that if the bonds don't get approved, the team will reimburse Metro for any of those stadium development costs. This is really in that same vein that Metro doesn't incur any costs and expenses on the lease and the redevelopment until the council approves the things that the council's supposed to approve. That's what it says.
Yeah, so the other part that I really tried to emphasize yesterday, I realize this is non-binding. I get it. The people in Nashville don't get it. They don't understand why we couldn't give the raises we were supposed to give. They don't understand why we can't do a lot of things that we should be doing, but yet we can give away this land. We can do all of these things, pay $4 million a year to underwrite this stuff. They don't get it. At least that's what I'm hearing from my folks. Okay, so with that in mind. It's been no secret. I voted against it. I thought it was a bad deal from the very beginning, and I'll make no bones about it. I still don't think it's a good deal because, frankly, we haven't gotten a lot of answers to any questions we've asked. And so all this is doing is just requesting, and let me underline that, requesting that we ask the boards and commissions to slow down. Anybody that followed the stuff this morning knows the Fair Board went ahead and passed theirs, so it's apparent nobody's wanting to slow down. But as I've said multiple times on the floor in here, and I'll say it again to us, we need to be very cautious. I believe that this piece of property is different than any other piece of property in the entire city because of the referendum that was passed on it in 2011. So there's some challenges that we have to frankly deal with. I did have a meeting today with the soccer folks, and frankly, boy, my eyes were really opened once I understood exactly how this deal was put together. And I think as everything starts to unfold, you will be too. There'll be a proper time for that conversation. I think the next time we get together and talk about the money on this, it'll be probably the right time to talk about exactly how this whole deal was framed and done. And so with that in mind, this is just a way that, again, I think we're sending a message out that we want to be transparent. We want to answer all the questions. And I think we, as a body, need to have all the questions answered because the repercussions could be pretty drastic. I'm not saying they will be. I'm not crying wolf. I'm simply saying I think if we're not we need to be cautious so we don't get ourselves into a bind that we didn't anticipate. So with that, I'm asking for your approval on it, and then we put it on the floor, and let's see what comes about.
Okay, and I think we had another council member that wanted to speak on this.
Madam Chair, this is in Councilman Sledge's district. So did you want to say anything?
Yeah, while I respect the council members'
Sledge,
attempts, yeah, sure. So while I respect the council members' attempts to kind of get some clarity on some things that I think 5 boards and commissions have looked at this point, including ourselves. I just want to, I'm going to be asking members to vote against the suspension of the rules tonight. I believe I have the votes to vote against the suspension of the rules tonight. I think that we're continuing to have these conversations in light of day. There was a great Fair Board discussion today, and they were very enthusiastic about what's going on. And I think we're still headed down the right track.
Okay, committee members,
I have a question.
you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. So, Councilman Glover, if we, why do we have to suspend the rule to bring
Well, because
tonight?
I late filed it.
Okay.
Well, and frankly, I mean, if I have to, yeah, I'll bring it back to the next meeting. That's
So would
fine.
that be proper
Because let me
to-
tell you, and I respect what you're saying, but we have not been transparent. I found out things today that just literally, I'm astonished
Councilman, just
at the
because
way
you
it
found
works.
them out doesn't mean
So
it's
anyway,
transparent.
bottom line is this. If I need to wait, I will. If we get overruled on suspension of the rules, fine. I'll be bringing it back. because I think we have to have these conversations. And I certainly haven't attended every meeting, but I've attended a lot of the meetings. Certainly on the financial piece of it, I believe I've attended them all. And so this may be it may be a great deal, but there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered yet. And the other night, I think, was a prime example of why we still are sitting in a very awkward position, because I didn't think we asked hard questions, but I don't think we got any answers.
Councilman Glover, Councilwoman Mina Johnson is asking, what is the circumstances for the
Last Wednesday night. I mean, I started working on this Thursday after we got no answers the other night. That's why it's late filed.
I see. After the
I mean, so, and frankly, and at that point, I also learned that the Fair Board and the Sports Authority were going to go ahead and get together and vote and do what they're doing right now, and approving the initial work. And I don't disagree with what Councilman Mendez says. That's a part of it. I get it. I just don't think we've got the answers. And what's going to happen to us, gang? I mean, however you want to read this thing or however you want to translate it, what's going to happen is they're going to come to us in the 11th hour and they're going to say 90% of the work's done. We've got to do this now. We have to. Well, when you look at the Sound Stadium, we had to do that one at that time. We spent millions more than we were told. There's a lot of things we don't know that do cost our taxpayers money. And I realize we're saying it's a private-public relationship here, but at the end of the day, for the first 5 years, we know for a fact we have a $4 million tab that our taxpayers have to pick up. And so therefore, I think it's our responsibility as stewards of the taxpayers' dollars to be responsible and make sure that we're not putting money where the taxpayers are going to get burned.
So, if I may, so in that vein, because you totally understand this is a non-binding resolution.
Right.
So if we pass a suspension of the rule, and which Councilman Sledge says there will be enough opponent, so wouldn't that be proper to properly file and then make your statement in public?
Actually, I think it'd be a good idea for the public to see that we're going to go ahead, because we suspend the rules regularly on the floor on things that come up last minute. So I think it'd be a good idea for the public to see that we're going to not suspend the rules on this.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So that would be.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, if you want to make statements, so public will have enough opportunity to, see what you are trying to do. So that would be proper.
Right.
Councilman Mendez, you recognize.
So there were media reports in early June about stadium development going on, and after that, I made inquiries to figure out, are we paying for stadium development before we do these 5 approvals? And that's when I was shown a signed MOU that says if the bonds don't ever get approved, then the team will reimburse Metro for the stadium development cost. What Councilman Glover is talking about in his document is about the lease and the redevelopment of the 10 acres. And I do think it's fair to want to know that Metro's not spending money, third-party money. I mean, if it's internal resources, that's one thing, but if it's third-party money, the way stadium development is third-party money, if there's third-party costs being spent on either the lease or the redevelopment of the 10 acres by Metro, I think that's a thing where it's fair for us to say, to want to be sure, given some of the things that we've seen with other projects, to make sure that that can happen, because it's not approved yet. And so, as amended, I don't think it, I view it as a restatement of what would hopefully be obvious of, we ain't spending any money on, we're not spending third-party money on projects that aren't approved, are we, guys? And we know that, with all due respect to the project, we know that that's happened on stuff floating around some projects lately. So I think it's think it's fair, and from the, and I don't think it adds an extra burden or an extra hurdle, and it's a restatement of what ought to be happening anyway. And from the timing perspective, it's this this process is picking up steam, and I would like to know that there's not third-party money being spent on other things besides stadium development. So, I mean, I understand this isn't a thing we vote on. This is basically, if we all agree there's no problem, we would say it. I mean, we already know that we're not going to all be in agreement, so I don't know if we need to belabor it. I think I wanted to say this because I think the right reaction from the Rules Committee on the floor is to say we didn't have agreement about whether it was okay or not, because I know we're going to have some people on both sides of it.
Councilor Rosenberg.
Thank you, Chair Lady. I appreciate the discussion. Our only role is to decide if we're okay with suspending the rules. I'll bet that we're not going to, and I think in the interest of time, we should wrap things up.
Yeah, I think everybody said what they're supposed to. I do think good discussion on the floor yesterday, and I really like this much better. If it doesn't go through tonight, and it's based upon what we're hearing, we're not going to suspend the rule. There's going to be an attempt to suspend the rules. That's not going to happen. But you're going to refile it, and it'll come up next time.
Yeah, I'm not going away.
So at this point, the committee will not take action on this particular item. We will leave that to the entire council as a whole, and then should you need to bring it back, we'll entertain it at that time.
Well, at that time, I don't even know if it would have to come here because I'm not going to file it. Right. And we've already been through budget and finance, so I think I don't think there's any other place to take it to at that point. I'll ask Mr. Jameson, but I think I've pretty much so covered everything I need to cover with it.
Yeah, check, because it may be, because if he has to refile, won't it have to come back to Budget and Finance because it's a new resolution?
Right, he'd probably refile it as amended in one clean bill.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no other resolutions, I think we've got them all. We will now move to elections and confirmations. And thank you all for your patience. You all see a local government at work here. We first have 4 appointees. I'd like all 4 of you to come up at the same time. We need to pull up a couple more chairs here. And this is all reappointments to the Auditorium Commission. We have the reappointment of Ms. Aaliyah Armstrong for a term expiring June 30th, 2021. The reappointment of Ms. Alice Chapman for a term expiring June 30th, 2021. The reappointment of Mr. Blake McDaniel for a term expiring June 30th, 2021. And the reappointment of Ms. Christy Watkins for a term expiring June 30th, 2021. And I'm going to ask you all of this all at the same time, and just raise your hand or say aye or yes. Are you a registered voter in Davidson County?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you live, that's right, do you live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you passed the test.
Any other board?
Are you on any other
In
boards
Metro
or
board.
commissions in Metro government?
No.
Okay, you passed the test. Okay, so we're going to start with the reappointment of Ms. Aaliyah Armstrong. And tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to be reappointed to the Auditorium Commission.
Well, I have been on the Auditorium Commission, I believe, for almost 10 years now. Native Nashvilleian, really enjoyed seeing the regentrification of the city. I work in real estate, so it's been very interesting to see the progress of the auditorium with everything coming in from the Musicians Hall of Fame and all the contracts and everything that went through with that. And I enjoy working with Bob and everyone else. It's like a family. So I would love to be of service again for another term.
Okay, any questions, committee members? for Ms. Armstrong?
Do you want to do them separately or do them
Want to
all?
do them separate or want to do them all the same?
Same question to everybody.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're going to go to each person, then we'll ask the committee to entertain questions. Ms. Alice Chapman? Okay, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to be reappointed?
Thank you for having me. I'm Alice Chapman. I'm a partner with MP&F Strategic Communications. This would be my second term on this board. I have really enjoyed learning so much about the auditorium during my term. I think it's such an important part of our city's music history, and we've gotten to put together the 55th anniversary event for the facility just last year, and that was a lot of fun, and brought together people who had played in the auditorium at some point. There was artifacts out. It was just really a fun time. So this is a great group, and I would be privileged to continue my service to the board and helping Bob take it into the next century.
Okay. Mr. Blake McDaniel?
Yes, how are you? So this is my third round? Yeah, third report. So real excited about this. I've been in the music business for, almost 20 years now on the booking side. And so it's been fun to kind of take that experience into this position. When I was first appointed, I had this vision of turning the municipal auditorium into something really amazing, knowing that it's got this rich history, somewhat similar to the Ryman, and that with a little elbow grease and a little work that we could kind of showcase that a little bit. And I think we've moved in that direction, along with my cohorts here. We've been able to do some things that turn the finances around. So first time in 20 years, we're making a profit. It's a small one now, but we're going to grow that. And so we have other ideas for the municipal auditorium as well, and other ways to invest in it. And so I just want to keep that dream going. So that's it.
Awesome. And Miss Christy Watkins.
Yeah, so I was born and raised here in Nashville, and this will be it's technically my third appointment because I took somebody's place and was in for a brief time and then was reappointed. But I think they've touched on all of it. I've been serving and overseeing the Live Nation deal, the renovations of the backstage space, the anniversary. I'm president of an entertainment group, the Aristo Media Group, and my father started our company over 40 years ago, and I've been there for 15 years. So.
Wow, impressive. Well, you all are an impressive group of reappointments, committee members at this time. Do you have any questions? Our appointees?
Yes, ma'am. Because everybody is reappointed, I would like you to tell us what was the highlight and good thing about happening in Auditorium. I think, last couple of 3 years really changed, and, marketing has changed, and I think literally kind of turned the corner. So if you all could brag about it and how you did it and what's the, future challenge might be.
Well, one, I think it's under fantastic management. Bob and his staff do a very good job. And the Live Nation agreement, I think with the city, you would probably agree, was really a turning point for the facility.
Absolutely. The anniversary event was a good highlight because it provided opportunity for the media to come down and really bring the facility and make it inside and mind to a lot of people. The renovation, the seats over there are beautiful. The backstage space has just really, made the place a go-to spot for artists. And so it's been a good highlight for me.
I would say perseverance. Bob and the staff are just incredible. The things that they've done, they've run into roadblocks. They've found another way. They've continued to persevere and to keep the, keep the history of the facility, as well as doing things to bring it into the times now, to bring it back and make it a cool place to be again. So it's been really amazing seeing the journey, and kudos to Bob and the staff.
I've really enjoyed, there's been a couple of them for me, because like I said, when I first got on this commission, it was a vision. It was a vision that we had for a very historic venue, and so we set some goals. We're halfway through that process, I believe. One of those goals was to be able to make this thing financially, just to pay for itself, because for so long the city had been putting money into it. And so in order to do that, we needed to create business in there. And business begets more business begets more business. And so we had to figure out a way to get promoters to want to put their business in there. And so we cut the deal with Live Nation and cut a sweetheart deal with them. And in the end, it worked out in our favor because, like we suspected, business begat business. And then part of that was to make the experience backstage from the artist's perspective great. So as soon as they walked off the bus, they get on stage, they leave, they think, oh, this is amazing. It's an amazing experience for us. And so we did that. That's what we focused on. So when we had the unveiling of the backstage area, it's like, okay, this vision is starting to come true, When we were able to look at the books and found out, and this was a year early that we actually broke even. I thought it would take us probably 2 years to break even in this process with Live Nation. We broke even the first year, and it blew my mind. It's like, oh my gosh, this is happening quicker than I thought it was. So, now the vision is to improve the ticket goers experience out there in the venue itself. And so now we've got our model down. We know how to make money out of this venue. Then we want to dig deeper into this. Yeah, I'm really excited about what the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years are going to hold, to be honest with you.
Councilman Mendez.
Just two things. One, thanks to all you guys. What you guys have done over the last couple of years really is a shining bright spot in Metro government's finances. And I know it's a lot of hard work. The second thing is a request. I think part of the success has been because the venue fits into the ecosystem of the other venues in town, and that's part of with Live Nation doing the selling and booking for multiple venues. I think that helps with the ecosystem part. So I would make the ask of, on some hypothetical day in the future where it looks like the Metro Council is going to provide government incentive or money for some other venue that's going to cut into your spot in the ecosystem, make sure we know. So, because that'll be, I'd hate for us to end up spending government money on getting some venue in place that would swipe your business. And then we're right back to undercutting the work y'all did. So just keep that in mind if you hear about that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just something real quick. I always thought the auditorium was one of our best kept secrets. It's always so well run, and I'll give you a quick example. Went to a graduation this year at Overton High School, and there was it was overcrowded. There were a lot of people running around, and I looked over, and who was moving chairs and getting people in the right place but your director. You didn't see me, but I saw him, and he was moving chairs around, and that's the sign of a good director.
Absolutely.
Well, we thank you all for your service, and we are grateful that you would like to lend your talents and expertise to local government, and we thank you for the passion that we hear today. And it's nothing like having a focused strategic plan that everybody has wrapped their arms around and is making it work. So thank you. And
So I move, all four.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. You're all approved, and you get the little magic passes. Councilwoman Nina Johnson. These are the passes for the garage. Free parking.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Did great, right? And we would like for you all to stay because there is another part of the confirmation as well with the entire council.
I'm hungry.
We won't take long. Okay, at this time, the Board of Health, the reappointment of Mr. Sam Felker for a term expiring July 9th, 2023.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Felker. Okay, you got to match these questions here. Are you a resident of Davidson County?
I am.
Are you a registered voter?
I am.
And are you on any other boards and commissions in metro government?
Thankfully, no.
Okay, well, you passed the test.
Yes, you did.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to be reappointed to the Board of Health.
Okay, so I've lived in Nashville about 35 years, practiced law all that time. I practice now at Baker Donaldson, and which is one way I know Bob, who's through the law practice. I've served on the board. This has been my third term on the Board of Health. I really enjoy the service on the Board of Health because, in fact, when I first went on the board, I didn't even know what we did exactly. When Mayor Dean called me, I said, "Oh, they run the hospital, right?" He's like, "No, not exactly." So, but I've learned a tremendous amount. And, the Board of Health touches everybody in Metro, one way or the other, whether they know it or not. And so the health department is tremendously important for the welfare of our city. And so I've really enjoyed the years I've spent, working with the dedicated workers at the health department, getting to know them, the mission of the department, and just all the great work that's done. A lot of it, people in Nashville never know what's going on over there, but it's tremendous. I mean, right now we have a hepatitis A outbreak that's being handled with diligence by the department, and we have a dedicated staff that is working around the clock on that. Many great things have happened over the last, 8 years I've been on the board. So I want to continue that progress.
Okay. Any questions from committee members?
Yes. What kind of change have you seen? I understand you have learned quite a bit, the
Right,
last couple of
right.
times, but with the challenging thing and what, where we need to go from what you have seen.
Right. So it's a time of transition right now. The big transition we had a couple of years, over 2 years ago now, we moved into the new building. And that was a tremendous boost to the department to move into that space. And the Lentz Center is just incredible. And it's a model around the country for what health departments can do and what we can do here in Metro with our physical structure. So it's a time of transition now because Dr. Paul, who is back here, of course has served for many years as our director, and he's now in the last year of his contract. And so his dedicated service has got us where we are now. And we're now going to be going through a transition of appointing a new director, which will start probably next month. And then we have a 6-person executive committee or executive staff, the directors of all the bureaus, and 3 of those are now vacant. And so we have some leadership issues we've got to deal with in the coming year. And I was instrumental. I was the chairman for 2 years, and then I stepped down last year to just be a board member. And so, it's a lot of work to get that staff put together, and it's very disappointing to see 3 of our bureau chiefs resign to do other things. But, I think it's important to have the leadership to get a strong group back together and go on to the next chapter.
Councilman Van.
I have no questions. I want to thank Mr. Felker for his service and would love to move his approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. And Councilwoman Johnson is going to give you that
Excellent.
parking pass.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you in the chamber as well. Thank you. Okay, and our last appointment this afternoon, Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency, the reappointment of Ms. Antoinette Bax for a term expiring July 1st, 2023. Welcome, Ms. Bax. And I have these 3 questions. Are you a resident of Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a registered voter?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you on any other boards and commissions for metro government?
No.
Okay, you passed the test.
Okay.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to be reappointed to MDHA.
Members of the committee, I am Antoinette Bax. I live in Cumberland View, MDHA. I thank you for considering my reappointment. Since 2013, it has been my great honor to serve as a member of the Board of Commissioners of MDHA. Our agency is so vital, certainly to my neighborhood and our part of town, but of course, to our whole city. I am proud to be a part of a positive change going on throughout our properties. We are reducing crime and improving the lives of those we serve each day. We are excited now to look ahead to what the Metro Council and our agency can accomplish in the period just ahead. So excited to see what is happening now at Casey and soon at Napier, Sudicum, and Edge Hill. I hope you will approve my appointment, but more so, I hope you will continue to give your attention and support to the great possibilities that we can all do together. Affordable housing and the reduction of crime and restoring hope for the people, these are not easy problems to solve, but you and I, we together, the administration, can all make some great things happen for this city. I am happy to answer any questions you might have, because I do live in housing and I've seen a lot of great changes.
Wow, right.
Reduction of crime. I'm in one.
And is this your second term or?
Yes, it is. I'm just on second term.
Any questions?
So you like serving, obviously, and we appreciate you making a difference. Do you feel like that you're making an impact in what you're doing?
I do, and where I live in Cumberland View. Yes, sir. I'm very involved with the people over there. Yeah.
Well, I say keep on doing it. Okay.
I'm proud to live there. You know, that's my home. So that's great. I've seen a lot of changes.
Councilor Down.
Are you all making any efforts or had any conversations about like migrating people from subsidized housing to home ownership? And the reason why I ask that, because in other cities they're using like Section 8 vouchers to go toward the purchase of homes. And that's happened. I have a friend that's down in Texas that they've been able to utilize the subsidy toward the purchase of a home, and that way at some point you own it, you know.
They have a lot of programs through Metro, through the housing agency. I'm on one, FSS, Family Services, where, you know, sufficiency, where you work, you pay your rent and they take a certain part out. So after 5 years, you'll get what they've taken out.
To go toward.
To go for a house.
Okay.
It's an escrow fund that our money goes into. We have just over 500 residents in the program right now.
Excellent.
In the last 4 years, over 200 homeowners, almost all of them with Danny Heron Habitat. We were out Saturday with the Assistant Secretary of HUD showing where we've got 80 of these units, and they're all former either Section 8 vouchers or public housing. And Ms. Vance is well on the way in that program with our FSS Council.
Have you considered doing like, instead of just the freestanding single-family homes, like, you know, we look at these apartment complexes, because I'm single, just me in the household, and a 2-bedroom apartment with a family room is sufficient to purchase. So like the condos that we're doing downtown and other places, look at doing some of those where the owners can purchase them versus rental.
This has not been at the board yet, but Jamie Isabel and our staff met 2 weeks ago for the development of Charlotte, which comes online in either late 19 or early 20. And we're looking at 10 set-aside apartments that the developer will intentionally hold that price to just above cost. And we're going to plug them into the FSS program. Those are 2 and 3 bedrooms. I can't think of the name of the development, I'm sorry, but if you know Jamie, he's a former council member. I don't know if anybody knows who he is, but he and the developer came in and we're working on that MOA, which the board has not yet seen because they just started construction there about within the last month. But certainly, I don't know if it was your idea, but it's one we've been working on for a while. It's the first developer we've had a partnership with that would bring that price point down. The challenge with that escrow account, because you are folks with low income, when you increase your rent that you pay, the subsidy goes down, the amount that's from the federal government decreases, but it's not that much money. So your escrow amounts aren't that much when you go to close the loan. That's why we tend to gravitate to Habitat. So we've got to find a price point that's sufficient with the escrow monies that come out of the Family Self-Sufficiency Program to allow purchase, and this is our first developer to partner for that. But these are condos on Charlotte, and if you'll remind me, send me an email, I'll give you the name of the developer. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
But we haven't inked the deal yet, but we're certainly talking about
Looking at it.
And should have an MOA, I think, by the end of this year.
And it'd be nice, too, to use some of the grant money toward helping them get into a place versus using all that toward, you know, what I'm seeing, we use all these MDHA dollars and tax dollars to build rentals. And I believe the reason why crime is high, because it may be low in your area, but the crime is being migrated to my area. And so we see it's because there's no connection to the property a lot of times, because people, they don't own something and have some skin in the game, as they say, some money invested in it, then they tend not to value and take care of it as if it was something that you're paying for every single day and you know is yours. So I'm very interested in seeing us migrate away from incentivizing people to have rental property, but a program where we can migrate people. The 500 is excellent, but I would like to see us double that. You know, I would rather invest money in a program that put people in homes that they can occupy, because that's how we build wealth. And right now, people are not building any. They can build equity in a house and pay back. They can be on a 50-year loan, 40-year loan. I think we're going to have to start thinking outside the box to allow people to get in homes that are owner-occupied if we're investing our tax dollars in them, so that, one, it'll create safer neighborhoods, provide stability in the school system, because they won't be moving around every time the rent change. One, they'll own it, you know, and then they can pass it down to the next generations and build wealth, because we're seeing 3 and 4 generations of people rent. And I think, you know, and we're steady paying. So we can get there.
We certainly look forward. I mean, we appeared before the Budget Committee some time ago. We look for the day the Metro Council invests in MDHA. We don't receive any Metro money. We're governed by the federal statutes and the federal programs we manage. We follow those. The program you referenced, Low Income Housing Tax Credit, it's not our program, it's THTA's. They're governed by the Department of Treasury statutes, and at that point, when the federal government changes the plans, the programs will certainly respond. But until then, housing choice vouchers are governed, and we're a lead in the country, we're the best in the country at it. Our project-based rental assistance are governed by federal statutes, and we have to stay with those compliance rules. So.
But I know you participate in conversations with committees and policies on these programs, and I think that's the message people in your role should be taking to the federal government, because I talk to other MDHA people and low housing tax income credit, and to me, it's just a way of, one, the vouchers, in my opinion, I've stated this before, I think they artificially inflate the market when people know that they can get $1,000 voucher on a house that if they purchase it would be a lot less. So I would like to see us as a city move toward, and even you, because you're speaking on behalf of income and housing in our city, when you go up to Washington and you sit in those meetings and have those conversations, talk about stop incentivizing investors but look to getting people in homes, because that's how you build wealth. I think the poverty in this country is exploding, and it's exploding because we're creating a model where people are using a basic necessity as housing as an investment, and we have got to get to where we're getting people to purchase homes. And we got to have that conversation with people, whether it's Hickory Manor or Cumberland View or whatever. We spend 10 times what it would cost having people rent and stay there for, you know, generations, when they could purchase it, pass it down to the next generation, and they could start off having a home and not having to start over buying a home. Imagine if you started out and your mother left you a house, and then, you know, the next generation doesn't have to pay for it, and that's what we need to get. So that's my 2 cents, but I appreciate what you're doing on that program. I really like it.
And mixed income is our model going forward, but our portfolio is the people below the poverty line, 13,000 families, and most of those would never income qualify for a loan or to own a home. And through family self-sufficiency and our other partnerships, we're certainly working to get them there. So we'll keep trying. And I do carry that message to D.C. I'm kind of one of the advocates for mixed income redevelopment in the country. And I think our model, Envision Case, and others is the way to go. It's still
we can keep the people there, and I, you know, looking at how we've done on the other ones, we have not been successful, you know, retaining the people who live there to stay. For whatever reason, if you're going off from a voucher to come out to Antioch in a house or however it's done, the people end up at the end of the day when Casey is completed. I will imagine that very few people who started there will end up there. Now, whether it was because they chose to move elsewhere or what have you, because I know how the game works, I know. But if we could keep people in their communities with the people they're around, their neighborhood, then that would be good. And if we could get more people in homes, that would be great. And I'll leave my comments there. Thank you.
Councilwoman
Thank you,
Mina
Madam Chair.
Johnson.
If you would, Ms. Bat, MDHA is made of several development community, and you representing housing and so forth, and a different background. So could you tell your experience, discussion presenting your point of view and hearing from development community, and how's those conversations like at the board meeting?
Okay. I mean, they just had a groundbreaking in Bartow for the teachers and the law, to move in those. That's great. That's something different. Envisioning Casey, Bosco 1, the apartments, and then Kirkpatrick, Bosco 2.
And you
Did
are
I answer
very,
your question?
yes, and you are very proud, and I'm so glad to hear, crime is going down. Do you think what would be the contribution to, for the positive change?
For the positive change, the positive change is for everybody to change. I mean, just in the community, just being involved with the community. Yeah. I mean, change needs to be all over, just not in housing, just all over, across the board.
If it's related to crime, I think a key components, the board approved 4 years ago a camera program. We put up 1,520 cameras. And this year, along with the mixed income redevelopment and the additional $300,000 we sent to the Metro budget for police, additional policing. Last year at this time, we had 20 murders in our portfolio of MDHA housing. Knock on wood, at this point in time, we were just saying how happy we are. We have none. At Casey this time last year, 6. At Casey this year, none. And the reduction in non-domestic partner violent crime is down 70%. We think that is a combination of factors of collaboration with police and additional walking patrols, which does cost us some money to pay Chief Anderson, and the cameras, which is perhaps relocated crime, to your point. I don't know. I can't control that.
Who pays for the cameras?
We do.
MDHA. Do you put those at all of your properties?
We are about 90% complete, and the goal is 100%. 4 years ago, my goal was 100% what I call instrumentation, coverage of all common areas, and we're about 90% complete. And we saved what were the least crime-ridden areas for the last, so Johnny River Hill's not quite complete.
Would that include the ones like Willow Point and Hickory Manor that you have?
Properties.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And Councilwoman Mina Johnson's giving you this wonderful pass here for the garage. Thank you for your service. Thank you. And make sure to join us in the council chambers for the last part of the confirmation.
The lady she called, the lady who over there, she called me.
Okay, committee members, that is all of the business that we have before us. Is there any discussion on anything before we adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I did not have.
How could that not be on?
I did not have.
It went to another committee.
Yeah, I did not have it on our agenda. Sorry. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Meeting.
Miss Dow.